alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining me for lesson number 17. We're going to go through this chapter where we're continuing discussing the Prophet ﷺ. So most of the Quraysh was accustomed to send newborn babies to the desert. That's where they would spend time in their early childhood with the Bedouin family. Now, a Bedouin family is a family that is raised in a desert and are used to the desert climate. This gave children good health. It kept them away from the crowded cities. So the cities tended to be, full of pollution. There was hustle and bustle in the cities. It was quite crowded. So the Arabs would send their children away from all of that into the desert. That's where they would also learn pure Arabic. So it wasn't just the nature that appealed to them. They also wanted to send them for pure Arabic language, so to develop their linguistics. So that was according to the custom of the Arab nobles. So it wasn't all the Arabs, it was those that were from those noble or high prestigious tribes. So the Prophet's care went to a lady called Halima Sa'diya. But there are some history books that say that she was many of the women were reluctant to take the Prophet. So they went to foster. They were fostering. So, or they were the wet nurse. So wet nurse basically means that they would take the child, bring that child up in a desert, and make sure that it's fed and gets its. And obviously with a baby, it gets its milk. The custom was to take a child whose father was wealthy so they could get a big payment at the end. Not many women wanted to take the Prophet. Why? Because they knew that he was an orphan and he didn't have a father. But Halima, she took pity on this baby and brought the Prophet. When she came to the desert, she started to see lots of blessings. Okay, so her animal that wasn't giving milk started, alhamdulillah, giving milk. So she started to see lots of blessing with bringing the Prophet. She'd also take the Prophet back to visit his mom, and she'd do that twice a year so he could see his mom and his granddad. The Prophet, so Halima suckled him for 2 years, meaning she fed him. This is basically gave him milk, and he remained with her for 4 years, and he learned how to look after the animals. He tended to the sheep, and he was old enough to learn the ways of the deserts. And as it says here, he did bring good fortune to his foster parents, who was Halima and her husband. Later on, the Prophet's mother, Amina, called him back to Mecca at the end of 4 years when he was 6 years old. And she took him with her to Yathrib, where his father had died. But Amina herself fell ill and died on her way back to Mecca at Abwa, a place between Medina and Mecca. You now have a few questions here that you can answer. And then below here, you have a word search. So you have a few words here that you can use a different color to find these words. If you don't have different colors, you can use the same one. It's not really, a requirement, but just to make it colorful, you could do that. And then for those of you who are a little bit younger, you can also color this picture in, which is a lovely picture of the Kaaba and a cloud over it. And that's all for chapter 17. Jazakallah khair for joining me for this lesson, and inshallah I will see you for your next lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.